Okay, so welcome everyone in IME 100. This is an introduction to computer aided design or CAD. If you've never used CAD before, that is totally fine. That's exactly what this session is for. We're going to be using Autodesk Fusion in this course. So I want you all to get very familiar with this platform. Some of you in high school may have uh, used Onshape, or some of you may be familiar with SolidWorks or some other type of CAD program. And that's good. That will give you a good background. But we want you to learn Autodesk Fusion in this course. And there's some good reasons for that. Fusion is one of the easier, I believe, CAD programs to learn, especially for new students that have never used CAD before. And also, it's good for you to know multiple types of CAD programming because you don't know at your co-op or your future career path where or what type of CAD software you will be required to use. And you'll have to use whatever program that they use. Okay. So the sooner that you get used to, learning new things and being multilingual in different programming languages, the more versatile and valuable employee you're going to be. Okay. So with that being said, this is the Autodesk Fusion environment. When you open it for the first time, it will ask you if you want to do an assembly or a design or something like that. Just choose design, and then it will bring you to this untitled blank page. So in this environment, I want you to be aware of a couple of things. First is up here at the top is your ribbon, and it has a bunch of different functions on it. We're going to create sketches here. We can do measurements in this inspect feature. You can insert a canvas or a picture on top of a sketch. Well, I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. Yeah, you'll create a sketch here. Over here on the left is your mode. So right now we're in design mode. In a later session, we'll be in the manufacturer mode when we're getting ready to make G code for the Laguna machine. And then for your toy project, you will use the animation feature. But right now, I want you to just concentrate on, we're going to be in just design for this session. Then over here on the left-hand side, there's a menu or a browser is what it's called in Fusion. And this is where you can look at your document settings. There's these expandable and collapsible arrows. You can look at your origin or hide it. This little eye with the line through it means that it's invisible. And if you click the eye, it shows you the origin. Okay. So I want you to look at document settings. We're going to be making our drawing or our sketch in inches because that's what our deliverables say in Blackboard for the coaster project. So if this is not what you see, you might see millimeters. Click on this button here, which is change active units. And you will see that you can select this drop down menu and change it to inches. Okay. And I have mine as set to default. So if you want to do that, you can click it and hit OK. Or if not, just leave it. Okay. So then here at the bottom, you'll see a timeline. And when we start making sketches, you will see that some icons appear here at the bottom. And this timeline will be useful to you at some point later. Then we have our navigation buttons. We have an orbit button. So when you click it, you can orbit around the different planes. Try not to get dizzy. And then to get out of this, you can just hit the escape button and then you're back to your selection mode. You can also click this hand to pan to where you want to look at. And then again, hit escape to exit. And then you can zoom by either using this button or you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And then over here on the upper right-hand corner, you see a cube. and a little button with a house. I want you to click the house, and you will see that it brings me to my home view. So you see that Fusion operates in a three uh, axis coordinate system in a Cartesian plane. Okay, this is what you should have seen in high school, where you were working with an X and a Y and a Z. So Z should be pointing up, X should be going from left to right, and the green axis is Y, which goes back and forth. Okay, so you want to make sure that this is your home view. If this is not what you see when you open Fusion, when you click the house button, please see me or Mr. Watchhorn, and we will help you get back to this home view. This is what we call an isometric or a three-dimensional view. So now that we're kind of familiar with the layout of Fusion, we can start by making a sketch for our coaster. So when we make our coaster, this is using subtractive manufacturing. And what that means is we're going to create a stock, a piece of wood that has specific dimensions, and then we will remove material or cut out the design that we want. Unlike 3D printing or additive manufacturing, where you're building layers and making a three-dimensional object. That's not what we're doing here in this project. We have to create something first and then take things away from that something, if that makes sense. All right. And so this is recorded. This will be available to you throughout the whole course. So you can watch this as many times as you like. You can pause, go back, and just I really want you to use these recordings to just really solidify your learning and to just make it so that you really get this, because this is really basic and fundamental to what we're going to be building on throughout the course. So it's very important that you understand what we're going to do in this session, because you'll use it again and again and again. Okay. So we're in design. We're going to create a sketch first. We're going to go under this create button. So we should be in solid, which is what we want. And we want to create. And then you see the first option is create sketch. And what you'll notice in Fusion is that anytime that you hover over something, it will explain what it is. So if you say, well, what does this do? It kind of gives you a brief explanation of what will happen if you click that. And so you see that these planes got highlighted when I clicked that. So you've got all these different planes. You've got the XZ plane, the YZ plane, and the XY plane. This is very important. You need to select the XY plane, which is the one that I have highlighted in gray here on the screen, because the machine, the Laguna that you're going to machine on, it has the same configuration as this Cartesian plane. The X goes from right to left, the Y goes back and forth, and the Z is up and down, okay? So if you choose the wrong plane to make your sketch, the machine is not going to do it right. It's going to not machine this correctly at all, and it could break the tool and the parts of the machine. So you want to make sure that you start the sketch here in the XY plane. So I'm going to click that, and then it brings me face on to the XY plane. If you do happen to create your sketch in another plane, I mean, we can fix that. I will show you how to rotate it in a different plane, but it's kind of a pain, and you just want to make sure that you do things right the first time. If you follow the steps that I'm doing in this video, you'll do it right the first time, and then you won't have to waste your time trying to do it again. All right, so a little sketch palette popped up over here, and which means I'm in sketch mode, and you see the ribbon up here changed. So the icons now are going to help me create shapes for my sketch. So what kind of sketch are we creating? Well, we have to create a piece of stock. And how do I know how I'm going to create it? We look at the deliverables in Blackboard, and they tell us what the height, width, and length of the stock is going to be. So that's what we got to draw first. So I'm going to go up here to create, and we're going to choose rectangle. We're going to choose a 2-point rectangle, and you can read what a 2-point rectangle is. So it's asking me, when I click on it, it says place the first corner. So I always like to start with the origin here because it just makes it easier for reference later. So I've clicked it. Now I can move my mouse and it's showing me these different dimensions. The numbers are changing as I increase the size of the rectangle. Now, you can go ahead and put in the dimensions of your rectangle right now. You see that the y-axis dimension is highlighted right now. So if you wanted to, you could type in 14 and hit enter. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show you another way. I'm going to show you another way to do it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just drag this rectangle and just, it says specify size of rectangle. I'm just going to left click and just leave it. Now, these aren't the right dimensions for the rectangle, but I did this on purpose to show you that you're going to use another method as well to define your dimensions. There's a button up here called Sketch Dimension. I want you to click that, and you see how these lines are blue? That means that Fusion has not recognized that these are defined. These are unconstrained dimensions. So you're going to put a constraint on it. You're going to make a dimension right now. So how you do that is first let's start with this dimension for the Y. So I left clicked on the blue line, and then I'm just dragging it away from the shape. And then I'm going to click one more time, and you should see this field pop up with a number. So I know what this number should be because in the deliverables, it says that my Y is going to be 14 inches. So I'm going to type 14 and hit enter. All right. So that dimension is now defined. So now I'm going to pan up so I can see what I'm doing. All right. Now, excuse me, we're going to dimension the other direction. I'm still in dimension mode. We're going to click on this dimension, the X now, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to click on it, the line, we're going to drag it up away from the shape, click again, and then this window will pop up. So we know according to the deliverables, this should be 7 inches. So I'm going to click 7 and hit enter. And that's it. We can click finish sketch here, or there's another one up here. All right. Now I'm going to pan so I can see my shape. Okay. Now you can also, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. Now, is this shape complete? Is this a stock? Well, we have 2 out of the 3 dimensions defined. We need to define the third dimension, which is the depth. So according to the deliverables, our depth is supposed to be 1/4 inch. So the way that we do that is we're going to go up here to create. Again, you see that now we're out of sketch mode, so these buttons change back to the solid interface, okay? Under create, we get our create menu back. We're going to choose extrude. And so that highlighted our body here. Well, it's a sketch right now. It's not a body. Once it becomes 3-dimensional, it will automatically define this as a body. So we're going to extrude this in the positive direction. See that if I drag this, it's making a depth now. And so we can define that as 0.25. And over here, it says new body, which is what we want, and hit OK. So there it is. There is our stock. That's what we're going to use to cut out our coaster. So if I go over here and expand this menu, you see that I have a sketch here. And in the timeline, I have a sketch and an extrusion command, okay? That's gonna be important later on. So now we're ready to make the shape of our coaster. Now, I'm gonna use a circle. I've had some students make hexagonal or octagonal or square coasters, but I'm gonna just use a circle for simplicity for the demonstration. So again, I want to create a sketch, and it's going to be on top of this stop. Okay, so make sure you select this top surface. Okay, and then it brings me to face on with the sketch. Okay, and I'm just going to pan up. Now, the first thing that we're going to do, because we're in sketch mode, I want to create the shape of the coaster. It's going to be a circle. If I just click on the icon, I can click on create and circle, and it gives me a few different options. But I just want a center diameter circle. So I can either choose this, or I can just go up here and click this icon. And that creates a center diameter circle. So it's asking me to place the center point. It doesn't really matter right now. Just click and then specify the diameter. And just like the rectangle, I can make it big. I can, just drag my mouse to wherever I want. And so I can do like I did before. I can just click there, and I can just choose this dimension feature up top here to choose the dimension and click on it. We're going to do that in a minute, but I want to show you that I can just type. And what should the diameter of the circle be? According to the deliverables, 6.25 inches. That's what that diameter of that coaster needs to be. Okay. But I'm not finished, because will the machine know to make a toolpath to just cut this out? No, it doesn't. It doesn't read your mind. It doesn't know that you want to cut this out. So you have to make a shape that you can tell it later in the manufacturing step, I want you to make a toolpath out of this. So how we do that is we're going to create another circle, and we're going to select the center point of the same circle, make sure it's the same, and then we're going to expand it out. And how big should this diameter be? It should be 6.5, okay? So that leaves a 1/4 inch of space between the diameter of your coaster and where you want the machine to cut it out. Okay, so are we finished? Well, not quite, because the problem now is that we're not centered, right? We're not centered on the stop. So this is where this dimension feature is going to be helpful. So what we want to do is we want to define how far away the center point of this circle is from each of these X and Y dimensions. So you saw what I did there. I clicked on the dimension button. I clicked on the diameter of the circles, because this is going to move both of them, right? That's why I told you to pick the center point for the same circle, or for the same center point for the two circles. Then I'm going to define this dimension first. So I click on that, and how far away do I want this from the center? Well, you can do some math here. You can say, well, I know that this is 7 inches, and then I'm going to just divide it in half, and that should be the center in the X. Okay. Now, this is a little bit tricky for the other dimension, because I'm going to click the center. Now I'm going to click this dimension, but this depends on where you want your coaster to be. Some of you will be designing your coaster on this side of the stock. Some of you will be doing it up here on this top portion of the stock. And we do that because we want you to partner up so that you're using one piece of wood, because that's less wasteful, right? So even though this will be an individual submission, you will work with a partner. But let's say that you're designing your coaster down here on this bottom section of the stock. So what you would do is you would take half of 14, which is 7, and then divide by the radius of the, no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. This is good that you see this because there we go. 7 divided by 2. Sorry. That's right. It's good that you see this because instructors sometimes make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes too. The important thing is that when we become aware of a mistake, we acknowledge it and say, okay, let's back up and see where we went wrong. Okay. So you see what I did there? I just took the dimension in X, 7, and then half of 14, which is 7, and then divided that in half. And that put me in the center of the bottom portion of this coaster. Now, if you were doing it on the top, you would just add it on so that it would appear up here. So you would do like so it would be in the opposite. You would make it negative, okay? So we can help you with that when you're ready to do it. So, or what I really want you to do is just figure it out on your own. But for the sake of time in this session, I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch so that we can move on. Now, but you get the idea. And now we have our sketch. Okay, we have the initial coaster. But are we finished? No, because we have to tell it that we want it to cut this portion out. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an extrusion. We're going to go to create, extrude, and then I'm going to highlight this. See this little portion here that is gray highlighted? That means that I can click on it, and you see that it turned a blue color. This means that Fusion recognizes this as a closed contour, okay? And that means that you can do different things with it. You can extrude it, you can revolve it, you can do all kinds of functions with it. If you don't see this turn blue, then that means that something's wrong and it doesn't see it as a closed contour. So you need to make sure that your points are all connected, that you're making a closed shape, okay? So now we have the arrow again. Now, do we want to pull it up like this? No, why not? Because we want to cut the material away. So we want to go negative. But do we want to go down an inch? No, we want to just cut through the stock. If you were to do that, minus 1 inch, you would cut through the machine and you would break the tool and you would break the machine. So if we just want to cut through the stock itself, what is this distance that we should make it? Minus 0.25, okay? And then it says cut here, which is what we want. So we hit okay. And now you can see that it is cutting. There's no wood here anymore. There's no material. It's a white space, which means that it's cut all the way through, okay? So now we come to the fun part, which is you're going to now make a design on this coaster. So remember that you need to get your design approved by either me or Mr. Watchhorn before you start your design. And you can do the design in a couple of different ways. You can insert a canvas. So you can insert something from your computer. You can choose a picture, like one of your personal pictures, or maybe something from the internet, and then it will appear on your sketch. But I'm going to show you another way you can do it. You don't have to choose a picture. Let me just say this, that if you choose a canvas and you put it here, you will then use the sketch feature to trace the picture to make your design, okay? But I'm going to show you a different way. You don't have to do it that way. You can create a sketch and then choose the top surface of the coaster that you just made. I'm going to pan up so that we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to create some shapes on top of this. Now I'm going to just do something really simple. I'm going to choose text, and it's asking me to choose the first corner of the text frame, and I'm just going to draw that. And then in the window, I'm just going to type my name. And then you want to make it kind of big. Okay, not that big. It can't go off the face of the coaster. Okay, that's good. The reason why you want to make it big is because we have a 1/4 inch, not 1/4 inch. We have a 1/2 inch. Okay, let's try that again. 1/8, there we go. 1/8 inch diameter bit that will be cutting out your shapes. And if you have something really small, then it's not going to be able to make a tool path for that. So I'm going to just click inside the box, and I can drag this anywhere I want. I'm going to make it flush with this line here. That's fine. And then I'm going to finish the sketch. Okay, so are we finished? No, we have to tell it that we want it to cut these letters out. And so I've made them big enough, hopefully, to make sure that it will be able to cut these out. So I'm going to do create, go under create, extrude, and then I'm going to click on my name here. So you see how that highlighted in blue? So that's good. That means that it recognizes my name here as a closed contour shape. Now, if you highlight your shape and you get this and the whole coaster highlights, then you've done something wrong. You don't want to extrude the whole coaster. You just want to extrude the pieces of your design. Okay? And so I want to cut this. I'm going to choose cut. Okay? And I'm going to, again, select somewhere in my design. I just selected the eye, and I'm going to extrude this down. We don't want to extrude it up because, again, that's creating material. We want to cut material away. So how far down should I extrude this design? Well, if we go minus 0.25, that goes all the way through the coaster. And we don't want to do that because that's going to make a mess on the machine. So I'll tell you that if you cut something all the way through, that you're probably going to break the tool bit because these shapes will be moving around inside the pocket here, the void that the machine will create. And that's just not a good thing. Also, these little parts tend to fly off the machine. So we're not going to do that, okay? So we don't need to cut it all the way through. We can just go halfway, minus 0.125. And that will make a nice little pocket extrusion. See that? And then I'm going to hit OK. And you see now that there's material that's 1/8 of an inch deep that cut away the material. And so now, guess what? You're done with your design. That's it. Now, you need to make something, if you want to make your name, I'm fine with that. But you just need to make sure that your design is approved by either me or Mr. Watchhorn before you start diving in, okay? And that's it for the CAD portion. The next session, I will go into the CAM portion and get you ready to make a G-code for the machine so that you can actually cut your coaster out. All right, thanks for watching, and we will see you in class.